Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion advised. Welcome back, my brothers and sisters, to the only Warcraft podcast for you, the people. This is Unshackled Fury. I'm back with you, of course, now 78 days alpha free. Your humble host. It is I, Berserker. This week, I'll be talking about the Warcraft movie, some dev tweets, a BlizzCon music survey, part 2 of the Burning Legion history lesson I'll be giving, and I'll be raging about collector's edition purchases. But first, I want to talk about a few other things. Namely, I want to thank you, all of you, for checking out the show, giving me follows on Twitter at Berserker Rage, and on SoundCloud and iTunes, because let me tell you, if it weren't for you folks, honestly, the show would still probably not exist. The funny part about starting up a show like this is that early on, and well, perhaps always in my case, you're a nobody, a voice in the dark. And it's in those moments when you see who the true believers really are. You guys and gals from all over the country and from all over the world, frankly, who hear my voice and lend your support, you are the true people of Warcraft. And with your support, I will continue to bring it every show, or at least as often as I can. And I told you that when I started Unshackled Fury that we would be the ones to rise up from the flotsam and jetsam that exists in this podcasting landscape to bring a new breed of Warcraft podcasts. And slowly but surely we are beginning to make that climb. And, one of the reasons that I made this show was that I look at other streams and listen to other podcasts as you do, and I see a real lack of connection between the hosts of these other shows and their listeners. I see people trying to reach out to them on various platforms with nary a reply, and it's something that I find quite disappointing. If you have ever tried to reach out to me on anything, whether it's in-game, whether it's on Twitter, whatever you have, you've gotten a response from me. You always get a response from me because I feel that it is important to always connect with the people who spend some of their time listening to what you do. And now you could argue, yes, of course, that I don't have nearly the following as some other shows. And so it's easier for me to make time to respond to various inquiries. And hey, listen, you might be right. But at the same time, none of these other shows have Justin fucking Bieber running the console. And, they're not trying to sort through a million messages from horned up teenagers at a rapid pace. They have the bandwidth to respond to who tries to reach out to them. And when I see that there are dozens upon dozens of people that reach out and get no response, I find that disheartening, have for a long time. So please, when you want to reach out, reach out. You'll always hear from me. You'll always get something back from me. I feel it's important to respond to people because, we're human beings, and that's what you do. So let it be said that I am always here for you, my brothers and sisters, in all that we do, really. I'm here for you. One other thing that I wanted to talk about is that I've been having some technical difficulties as of late. Some of you may have noticed this show is coming a little late, and the other one came a little late as well. And here's the story, is that back in December, I bought myself a new computer, more or less. I actually ordered one. I was in a unique position to buy sort of the rig of my dreams, let's call it. It's probably the last time I get to do it. But I wanted to put something together that I really felt was not just a performance piece, but also something that was kind of a piece of art, something that I would enjoy looking at, and something that would bring me joy for years to come. And I went through, oh my God, as anybody that's gone through this process knows, there are a million combinations that you can put together to build a new computer. There's all manner of parts. You're talking about your case, you're talking about your motherboard, your chipset, what kind of RAM you're putting in there, what kind of cards you're putting in there, all kinds of things. And it came down to, I went with a company called Digital Storm, which is sort of in my backyard down in Fremont in Northern California. And what I put together is pretty beastly. Is it more than what I need? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. I foolishly tried to do a little future proofing. Like I said, probably won't get another chance to do this. So what I went with was I got the processor is an i7. It's a 5820. I think the 6700 is the popular i7 chip for now. I looked at a few things. I think it was like 5960 was another one, but the 5820 was a slight price break for the same performance. So I went with the i7 5820. I have a Gigabyte SLI motherboard. Went with 16 gigabytes of Corsair Dominator Platinum DHX RAM. I have a 1,000-watt Corsair power supply. I put all of this on 500 gigabyte SSD and a 1 terabyte storage. Just for now, I'm sure I'll add more storage later on. And I did also put some pretty good cards in. I put in a GTX 980 Ti Strix Edition card. I actually put in 2 of them because, I don't know, why the fuck not? I could, so I did. Maybe it was dumb. I don't know. But that I'm playing all kinds of games. Everything's maxed out, and it's like I'm watching a movie. It's pretty fucking fun. I'm not gonna lie. Considering that not that long ago, what I was playing on, I was rating at about 25 frames per second, and now it won't go below like 90. So yeah, I know. All right, I know. Warcraft is not that demanding. I got it. But all the other stuff is still maxing out, and it's fucking rad, and I love it. So that's the gist of what I went with. But putting all of that together and picking all that stuff, what an insane pain in the ass. So I really sympathize with anybody that does it. And for anybody that builds their own and is screaming at me and saying, you could have built all that on your own, why'd you pay somebody else to do it? You are absolutely right. I could have done it all on my own, except if you go to Digital Storm's website, you'll see that they do this custom cooling set. It's they call it Hydrolux cooling. And I just thought it looked really cool. And yes, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff because, you know, when you put LED lights in your case, it goes 20% faster, right? Isn't that 15%? No, of course. No, it doesn't help performance at all. It just looks awesome, and I love it. So, you know what? If it's tacky, whatever. So sue me. I like it. But they have a custom water cooling system that they put together. I know that that's not something that I could build on my own. Which, funny thing about that, 2 days after I got this rig, after it was running insanely well, I noticed that there was a leak in the cooling system. But I will say that Digital Storm did work with me to have it sent back. They fixed it. I've had it now for about a week and a half, and it is running amazingly well. They to their credit, I had this thing for 2 days. They tested on their own for 2 days before that leak occurred. I think it was just a fluke part. And everything else has been flawless since. Everything fires right up. Having an SSD drive when you've had just the regular old school one, it's like, I don't know. I imagine it's like going from a horse-drawn cart to, I don't know, like a Maserati or something. It's fast. It's so fast. Oh, I love the speed. You know, makes you feel things in your shorts, if you get my drift. It's phenomenal. That's it. So yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about real quick. So hopefully everything's fixed now and up and running and in the way it's supposed to be and all of that jazz. So let's get on to our rage portion for this week. It'll be short but brief. And oh, I'm sorry, but Blizzard, you are the subject of my ire this week. Let's rage. So for anyone that may be new to the show, here's a fact. I am an unabashed Blizzard fanboy. There's no limit to the sheer depravity when it comes to how much money I will recklessly spend on Blizzard merchandise, events, and what have you. I'm lucky enough to be in this position, and this is what I do to waste my time and money. And really it all started when I bought my first collector's edition. Ever since I held the giant blue box for Wrath of the Lich King over my head at a GameStop like He-Man calling for the power of Grayskull, I've never looked back. And while I am still fortunate enough to be in this position, you're going to hear a first world complaint at this point, and it has to do with the collector's editions. And where I will start is with a recent statement from Blizzard about purchasing these physical copies. Quote, "With the digital version of World of Warcraft Legion currently available for pre-purchase, we know many of you are interested in getting your level 100 character boost now and early access to the new Demon Hunter before launch. We also know many of you are planning to get the collector's edition of Legion once it's in stores, but would still like to get in on the action with your boost sooner rather than later. To help you do both, we've set up a process similar to the one for Warlords of Draenor to receive a replacement Legion key once you upgrade to the collector's edition. Just follow these steps." And then from there, they list how you buy the digital version. Then eventually you pick up your collector's edition, you enter your collector's edition key, you contact Blizzard customer support, and then they give you back the digital key, which you can then give to somebody else. I'm sorry, but this is bullshit. You are essentially trying to sell me two games. All right? This is not, well, here's an option that we can do where you have one or the other. This is, hey, we know you want to get in early, so do this, and then come back later and spend more money. Blizzard, I love you guys. I love what you do, but somebody in your, I don't know if this is a CFO kind of response or if this is something that the budget boys came up with. I don't know what, but this really doesn't fly. If you buy a digital version and then you buy a collector's edition version, you should either refund that money into, I don't know, an account, or just don't do this. Don't do this. Don't try to pretend that this is some kind of a deal where, oh, you can give the shiny new key to a friend. All my friends already bought it. All my friends bought the digital version whenever that came out. I'm the only holdout because I'm waiting for the collector's edition. So this doesn't fly. Blizzard, you guys have got to find a better solution to this. Just sell me the digital stuff, on one hand, and then on the other hand, sell all the collector's edition stuff separately. Whatever that $30-$40 is for the book and the other stuff that I love, sell that separately. Don't do this anymore. This is a joke. And everybody's in on it. I see people going, oh, there's nothing good in it anyway. You know what? If you say that, this conversation doesn't pertain to you. For those of us that love collecting these things, we do get punished to a certain degree for being, I don't know, the most not frugal of the fan base. And I don't think that that is a good way to reward players who are willing to spend money. In most places, if you are willing to spend the most money on a product, he's getting some sort of a deal. And this is not a deal. In fact, this is the worst deal. You're trying to convince us that buying the game twice is a good thing while disguising it as giving it away to a friend. If I want to buy my friend a game, I'll just buy my friend a game. I don't need to buy it for myself and then sell it. So at the end of the day, Blizzard, don't try to scam us anymore on this. I know you guys have got something better than this in the works, so please figure out a way in the future to sell the collector's edition on its own. One time, you get the benefits, none of this double-dipping nonsense, and then I can go on with my first world life and complain about other shit. Thank you. Now, let's move on to some news items, shall we?
And now it's time for News and the Blues.
All right, so clearly we are still in the data mining phase of the alpha. And as somebody who still does not have access, there's not a whole lot I can tell you other than what I've been telling you, which is that you're getting lots of previews on some of the major websites, Wowhead, MMO Champion being the main two, that are going artifact by artifact. They're very in-depth looks. They have videos showing what each of them looks like, different options that will be available once Legion comes live. And I highly recommend that you go check those out. If you like your artifacts, good for you. You'll really enjoy it. If you're struggling like me, with the Fury artifacts, then, you kind of get to take a look at what everybody else is doing, get a vibe for it, maybe you feel better about it. I still don't know. I'm kind of undecided. But there are tier sets, other things to look at. Several items are being data mined, mounts. There's a turtle mount now, a bunch of other stuff. So go check that out. If you're not in the alpha, those are the best sources I've got for you right now. As far as some other news goes, let's dive into that because there are a few other things to talk about there. One being more information about the movie. Now, we know that it's coming. We've had the major trailer for it that's come out, and it's been pretty cool. But we've also had some other items come out recently that I wanted to bring up. One being that the director Duncan Jones, he recently tweeted out some images from the movie set. If you haven't taken a look at those, I recommend you go find them and maybe take a look at them while I'm talking about these. They are very good signs for us as players in that they were images depicting Stormwind. They were of the Stormwind set. And one of them in particular that I really loved is it was a picture of the message board where we often go and get some quest when we're level whatever, 10, 20. It's where they have maybe some bounty missions, those kinds of things. And when you look on there, they actually have like Hogger and they have a bunch of other stuff, and it looks just like it does in the game. It references stuff in the game. The aesthetic is really spot on. And part of the reason why he did it was there is an assumption being made that all of it is CGI. There clearly is a lot of CGI, but at the same time, they are making it very clear that they did build sets. There were fairly large sets that were built. We saw, I think, early on, the Stormwind Keep was one that we saw very early on. It was just an interior shot, but it clearly was very large. When they had the cast and crew, or at least some of them, at BlizzCon a couple of years ago, they brought out a ton of the costumes that they were wearing, big armor sets. They had the big Doomhammer there, a bunch of things that you could see. So it's refreshing to see that as a player, they are staying true to the aesthetic of the game, the look of the game, trying to include, obviously, it's Blizzard. They're going to include lots of little stuff for us. It's what they do. But to see it as a tangible thing, finally, it's really nice. So go check those out. They're very cool. Also with the movie, there was something that came out recently where it looks like Blizzard is starting to partner up with a third party to send out some surveys. And one of them was about the movie, and specifically the movie ticket, and if there was some sort of accompanying prize package or bonus package to it. There was, I guess, asking some questions about what people thought. And in it, what it was suggesting was that there was a possibility that if you buy a ticket to the movie, they're giving away every expansion through Warlords, and they are also giving away something in-game. Maybe a pet, maybe, a mount. They've done that before with other promotions. Who knows? But here's the question that I want to ask, is that since I'm obviously going to see the movie a couple of times, can I sell those, whatever the in-game item is? Can I sell that? And would that be bad form? I don't know. It's nice to see that they are wrapping something in. Obviously, it's a Blizzard product again, so if we buy it, we're going to get something in-game. It almost seems like a foregone conclusion. But now we're actually seeing some tangible evidence that if we buy a ticket, that we go see this movie, yes, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's bribery, but are we really that upset about it? I mean, how many of us weren't going to go see the thing anyway? All right, there's some people that don't like going to the theater. I get you. I understand your plight. However, I am going to go to the movie. I'll probably go twice. It's right around my birthday, so it's an easy con for me to get a bunch of people to come together and say, hey, we got to go see this. It's Berserker's thing. None of them call me Berserker, but you get the drift. That's what we got coming up, is the potential that the Warcraft movie not only will be near and dear to our hearts in many ways, but they are also going to be tying ticket purchases to something in-game and perhaps further expansions. On top of all of that, the company that does the costumes and the ones that make the armor and the weapons that did, what was it, Lord of the Rings. They did Lord of the Rings. It's that group down in New Zealand. I think it's Weta. WETA. If I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. But they are now putting out replicas of stuff from in-game. They have little miniatures, I think 1/6 scale, of armor sets. They have some jewelry items, I believe. There's a Doom hammer. There's Lothar's sword, maybe. There are some really cool pieces in there. So, I don't know why it's a thing for us. It just is that we collect all these little tchotchkes and all this little bullshit. I get Loot Crate every month, and it's ridiculous how much joy all these little trinkets and things bring me. As a fully grown, probably overgrown at this point, adult man, why am I so happy to get all of these little things and to put them around my desk and take them to work and show them off and all that? I don't know. Maybe it's just part of our geek DNA. It must be, right next to plays video games, loves sci-fi, reads fantasy, loves tchotchkes and little bullshit. I don't know what that is. Code it. Find out. But Weta Workshop, they're putting some stuff out for us. So, maybe if you're in a pinch looking for a gift, we got Valentine's Day coming up. And, last I checked, they weren't making any real sexy Warcraft pieces. There's not like some sort of leather set that translates out of game that they're selling down behind the curtain at your local movie store. Yeah, I'm not seeing that anymore. It'd be nice. I would love to walk around with the official Varian Wryn COD piece. I would do that, but I don't think it's going to happen. So this is what we're going to get. We got Weta Workshop replicas. Great gift idea, I think. So check them out. See what's going on there. One quick dev tweet that I wanted to bring up is somebody asked a question about time walking, because sometimes there are little things that are added into expansions that are just for that expansion, like garrisons in this case. Probably going to stick, it sounds like, with Warlords of Draenor. We'll get the class halls, but those are different. But asking if time walking was something that's going to be permanent, and in fact it is. Time walking is something that is now a permanent addition to the game. That's not something that they're just trialing or will just be part of this expansion. They are, in fact, keeping this around, and I'm really happy that they've made that decision. Clearly, they've been working on that tech for some time. There was a leak about it, like a year ago. I think somebody accidentally got into the game when there was a bug and saw that there was some scaling happening, and they have spent a lot of time on this endeavor, and it's nice to see that they're keeping it around because it's a lot of fun. I have not gotten nearly enough opportunities to do it, to run through those old dungeons like I've wanted to. So I'm glad that they're keeping it around, one, because I haven't had a chance to do it, but two, because I think it's a really great idea. There are phenomenal dungeons that they've worked on in the past that essentially become graveyards, and nobody goes there. There's nothing there anymore. There's thousands and thousands of man hours that have been spent creating different parts of our world that essentially get forgotten because it's not current content. And by doing the time walking and bringing it back, hell, just going through Pit of Saran, that was the first time that I've been through it in years, and I forgot how much I loved that place. That final run through the end, going through that corridor, trying not to get killed, smashing all that stuff, then getting through the other side and fighting a guy, riding on a zombie dragon. I mean, shit, who doesn't love that kind of stuff? But if it's not current content, and I'm not really one for alts, so I'll tell you that. I rarely run any content more than 2 or 3 times while I'm leveling. So it's nice to see that brought back. Bravo, Blizzard. I'm very happy to see that becoming a permanent addition. So the last news item that I wanted to bring up this week was I received an email from Blizzard, which at first I wasn't sure whether this was real or fake or what was going on. But I received a very real email that contained a survey about potential BlizzCon bans. And as somebody who has ordered all but I think one BlizzCon on DirecTV, having also gone to one, I'm probably the prime candidate because one way or another I managed to watch this content, and that's my guess as to how I got on this list. But I haven't seen anybody talk about it. I haven't seen anybody mention it at all, so I thought I would bring it up here. And now when I got this, I looked at it and I thought, oh man, that's awesome. They've already narrowed down a list and they're asking for public opinion. I think that's great because Blink-182 should never happen again. That I don't know what happened. I don't know if the ban they wanted fell through. I was lucky enough to go to the Metallica one, which was the best one for me and probably the biggest band they'll ever get. Because let's face it, even if you don't like Metallica, you have to recognize they're one of the biggest bands in the world. And unless they get, I don't know, they dig up John Lennon and they bring back the Beatles, I mean, that's one of the biggest bands that you can get. And now, before you say that John Lennon crack was in bad taste, let me tell you about this survey as a whole. It actually has 200 acts listed on here, and one of them is Motorhead, which Lemmy Kilmister just died. So, yeah, they haven't updated this list yet. One of the acts on here was Led Zeppelin. So, yeah, I don't think that BlizzCon is going to be the thing that gets Robert Plant to finally decide that he's going to get back together with Jimmy Page and the boys and start touring again. I don't think that that's going to be the case. So that was what I learned from this survey, was that this was not a list of potential bands, really. This was just a long list of very wide genre-defining acts to figure out the musical tastes of the people that are most likely to buy the DirecTV package or go to BlizzCon, as my guess. Blizzard has partnered with some sort of third party that's doing these surveys, and they've cast as wide a net as possible. And let me just read you a few of the names that are on here. So you have Evanescence, Skrillex, Eminem, Lana Del Rey, Queens of the Stone Age, Death Clock, Diplo, Aerosmith, Macklemore, Fitz and the Tantrums. Oh my God. Pantera? I mean, listen, I'd love Pantera, but I don't think that's going to work. Bruno Mars, Weird Al, which I know a couple people have mentioned. That would be a pretty good get, and probably pretty appropriate. Paramore, AC/DC, Rolling Stones, Anthrax, Kiss, Alabama Shakes, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And they didn't know, but the main guy, one of the main guys from Earth, Wind, and Fire just died, so I'm pretty sure that that's out. Modest Mouse, Franz Ferdinand, 5 Seconds of Summer, Jay-Z. Shit, maybe Jay-Z will come down. Who knows? He could be, a huge Warcraft guy, for all we know. Miley Cyrus, Marilyn Manson, Smashing Pumpkins, Dr. Dre. Why not? He's a local. He lives down in L.A. Just pop on up, throw down a few jams, call it a night, collect a paycheck. Pretty good deal. Green Day, Daft Punk, Scorpions, the great German band. Van Halen. Listen, if Van Halen shows up, I'm definitely going to go. Maroon 5, Breaking Benjamins, Korn, Deadmau5, which I'm sure a lot of the Blizzard guys would enjoy. Black Sabbath, Radiohead, Def Leppard. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So when you hear that they are doing this survey, don't get too excited. I think they're basically just trying to narrow down what the musical tastes of their audience right now is like. I know that their audience tends to be a little bit more older and male, which I think that's why you've had a lot of the acts that you've had in the past. But you know what? It is a good time. It's always a good time to reevaluate. This is the path that they've chosen. So if you see that survey, if you happen to get chosen to take it. Give them your opinion. Let them know what you think, because you could very well have a hand in selecting who the next musical act is, and at least they're listening to something. That's what we've got. That's your news for this week. So now let's jump into part 2 of our Burning Legion history. Welcome back for part 2 of our Burning Legion history lesson. And before I jump into part 2, I just wanted to do a better job of explaining this, because I didn't do it last week, of why exactly I'm doing this. And really the purpose is that we're about to jump into Legion here in the next several months. And even before the expansion drops, probably towards the end of summer, we will get a pre-expansion patch, which will have quite a bit of activity for us. And it will involve the Broken Isles. Specifically, they've mentioned the Broken Shore, where big battles happen and there'll be a whole bunch of shenanigans. But I think it's important for us to all be on the same page, and myself included, because I forget all of this stuff, as to how exactly all of this ties together. Who are these characters that we're dealing with? This place that we're going? Why is it relevant? What's the history of it? How did we get to where we are? So that was the reason why I wanted to put this together. And as I've done my research on this, it progressively gets more complicated. So I will tell you first off, what I'm telling you is an extremely streamlined version of all of these events. There are long books and chapters and all kinds of writings about the things that I'm discussing that go into way greater detail than what I'm doing. There are some books that I'm basically summarizing in one sentence. If you really want to get out there and feel the depth and breadth of what Blizzard has put out there for us, I highly recommend just go out, get a copy, fire up your library card. Maybe they got something down there. Get your Kindle out, Amazon, whatever you do, whatever your preference, and get those books. They are good reads. I think that there's some discussion as to which authors are better. Most of them are either Richard Knaak or Christie Golden, written by those two. I do have a preference for Christie Golden because she wrote the Arthas book and it was amazing. But I don't have a problem with Knaak. People have a problem with Knaak. I don't know why. Anyway, let's get us caught up to where we are right now. So we've talked about the formation of the Burning Legion, Sargeras, who was a fallen titan who fell into despair because of the endless wars that he waged against these evil forces. He succumbed to his deepest, darkest fears and became this god, essentially. This evil god built this army out of all of the various nasties that he came across in his travels, and then went about just destroying everything they could find. Every planet, every galaxy, what have you. Whatever the Titans had put to order, they would lay to waste. So, came to Azeroth, major battle, 10,000 years ago, Malfurion, Tyrande, Illidan, the forces of the Night Elves, and if you read the books, some other folks, which I'm not even going to get into, push back the Burning Legion. They repel the Burning Legion. The Well of Eternity explodes. The Maelstrom is formed. The ancient cities of the Night Elves, the capital city, Suramar, all these places exploded, blown to the bottom of the sea. Queen Azshara and her people go to the bottom of the sea. They turn into the Naga, all that kind of good stuff. And that's where we are right now. Where we are is now 9,000 years later. So 10,000 years ago, big battle, big war, went crazy, pushed him back. And then for 9,000 years, what you had were small demon incursions. You didn't have anything big. You didn't have Sargeras returning. You didn't have any of his lieutenants showing up. But you did have these small incursions. And so what happened was on Azeroth, there was a formation of a group called the Council of Tirisfal. And the Council of Tirisfal was essentially a group made up of the most powerful mages on Azeroth. And the most powerful of these mages was called the Guardian of Tirisfal. And the one that is the most important for us to know for these discussions, her name is Aegwynn. Aegwynn was the Guardian of Tirisfal for 1,000 years. And it was the duty of the Guardian and the rest of the Council to protect Azeroth from these demon invasions, or these incursions, really. So whenever these little demons would pop up, they would go and they would battle them and they would conquer them, and off we go. And what Sargeras had done was he would send these little invaders to, I guess, do battle or whatever it was. But what he realized was that the Guardian might be powerful enough to be the key to his return to Azeroth. So by sending some of his demons to Northrend to attack the dragonflight that was up there, it attracted the attention of Aegwynn, and eventually what you had was an avatar of Sargeras that appeared in front of Aegwynn, and they did battle in Storm Peaks. And ultimately, Aegwynn was the victor in this battle. And what she decided to do was, because the body, I guess, could not be destroyed, she buried it. And where she buried it was where she figured no one would ever find it, close to the Maelstrom. And so down at the bottom of the sea, she buried Sargeras in what is known as the Tomb of Sargeras, which just happens to be in the ancient Night Elf city of Suramar. Unbeknownst to Aegwynn at that time was that right at the moment, or near thereafter at the moment of Sargeras' defeat, or the Avatar's defeat, his spirit transferred into Aegwynn and then laid dormant. So a part of her was now consumed by him from within, and there he lay, unbeknownst to her, there he was. And eventually what occurred was that Aegwynn had a son by the name of Medivh. The father of Medivh is Nelas Aran, who was an advisor to the court of Stormwind, who was later killed. And if you go into Karazhan right now, if you go into Karazhan and you fight the Shade of Aran, that's who that is, and you have Atiesh on you, if you have Atiesh equipped, he will actually respond to you and say, did he send you? Because he knows, all right, there's some connection there with Medivh. So what happened was we have the spirit going into Aegwynn, and then when Aegwynn has her son, Medivh, the spirit is then transferred into Medivh, where it still lays dormant until he becomes of age and is actually able to use his power, at which point he does. And when that happens, who does he contact? He contacts Gul'dan, who you may have heard of. And the reason why this happens is because at this point in history, coinciding with Aegwynn, coinciding with the Avatar of Sargeras, coinciding with this period of time on Azeroth, you have back on Draenor the old history of what happened, where essentially Gul'dan had been tricked by Kil'jaeden, and the chieftains had drunk the blood of Mannoroth, what you see at the beginning of the Warlords of Draenor cinematic, where, he turns the cup upside down. Well, in the original history, they drank all that shit, and they turned all crazy and were under the influence of the Legion. So what you had at this point now was Sargeras looking at the orcs and saying, here is an army that I can bring into Azeroth to weaken the Azerothian armies so I cannot be repelled again. And what he needed was the power of Medivh to open the first dark portal to bring the armies of the orcs, the original horde, into Azeroth. And that's what happened. Sargeras hoped that the orc invasion would weaken the Azerothian armies to the point where his eventual invasion would then be successful. And when Medivh/Sargeras contacted Gul'dan, there was a promise made of great power, and that the tomb of Sargeras would hold that power, but he withheld the location to try to keep him honest. So here we are. We have Medivh, who is /Sargeras, being controlled by Sargeras, contacting Gul'dan to bring the orcish armies to Azeroth, to weaken Azeroth, to help Sargeras' eventual invasion. So they opened the Dark Portal, and this was the start of the First War. That's when the orcs invaded, they destroyed Stormwind, they were very successful, and it almost led to a successful victory for Sargeras. But towards the end of the war, when the humans were heading to Lordaeron and escaping Stormwind, Medivh was beheaded. And I'm not going to tell you by who, because, maybe you want to check some of this stuff out for yourself, because it's pretty cool. But when Medivh was beheaded, because it was found out that there was some evilness going on there, that's why that happened, Gul'dan tried to rummage for the location of the tomb in Medivh's mind. So he psychically linked to him when he's beheaded, and then boom, he goes comatose, Medivh goes comatose, and he does not awaken until the Second War, just prior to the invasion of Lordaeron. And what ends up happening there, and what ultimately helps the Alliance forces, is that he discovers, or he thinks he knows, or can find, Gul'dan does, where the location of the tomb of Sargeras is. And he ends up taking half of the Horde's forces to try to go find this tomb, which the other orcish leaders didn't know about, and it ultimately aids in the defeat of their armies. But he is successful. He does find the tomb. He raises the tomb and creates the Broken Isles. So the Broken Isles that we go to in Legion were originally raised by the original Gul'dan in search for great power within the tomb of Sargeras. He believed that he could find something called the Eye of Sargeras, which was a powerful artifact used by Sargeras, and it was buried there by Aegwynn at the time that she also buried the body. However, Gul'dan was almost instantaneously killed. Once the tomb was opened, he goes in, and the demons within, who had been driven crazy by being there for so long, tore him to pieces. And what do we get out of that? we get one of the most mythical items in all of Warcraft history. The skull of Gul'dan. Although he was dead, although his body had been ripped to shreds, his literal skull remained as a powerful artifact that still had a shred of his soul, whatever you want to call it, still in it, and he would talk to the wielder of the skull. And this skull was eventually used by the Burning Legion. How they came into possession of it, I'm not quite clear. And they used this to corrupt Felwood, our Felwood, on Azeroth. And eventually it attracted the attention of one Illidan Stormrage. So that's part 2, and that's probably enough to digest for now, as you have Aegwynn, the Guardian of Tirisfal, battling Sargeras, burying his avatar near the Maelstrom in what eventually becomes the Broken Isles, as they are raised by Gul'dan, who is then himself ultimately ripped to shreds, and his literal skull becomes a powerful artifact that Illidan comes into possession of. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk more about this. I'm going to talk about what happens once he comes into contact with it, how this involves the Lich King, of all people, and ultimately, how do we get to where we are today. So I hope that gives you, again, another layer onto this chapter of Warcraft history. It's a little complicated. Hopefully I've explained it in a streamlined enough way where you can grasp onto it. But we'll talk about it again next week, and hopefully we'll get closer to a conclusion. So thanks again for checking out Unshackled Fury. Episode 6 is now in the books. Again, I really appreciate all of you who come and check out the show. Whether this is your first time, whether you've been here from the beginning, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. You can always follow me on Twitter at BerserkerRage. You can find me on SoundCloud and on iTunes. Please give a follow, tell your friends, let them know. If you like the show, like I said at the beginning, reach out to me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to tell me you like it, you want to tell me fuck off, whatever. It's good. I'll take it. I'll always respond. So until next time, have a happy Lunar Festival. I will see you all in the next go around. Strength and honor to